Hello to all of you who made a choice to listen to us. We took an action, you took an action, and we did the same when we decided to create Partnership in Action podcast. Its first episode is in the air here and now, at the time you are listening to us. Welcome. My name is Larissa Homans.
And my name is Marlene Thomas.
And this is our joint podcast, Partnership in Action. It's my big honor to introduce my partner and the podcast co-host, Marlene Thomas. Marlene is the president of Thomas Management Consulting, professional certified coach, and immediate past president of the ICF Metro DC Charter Chapter. But for me, Marlene is the partner in leading new impactful stories based on the values and very deep level of soul connections. Welcome, Marlene. I value so much this inspiring opportunity to co-create this new media project with you. I'm very excited.
Thank you, Larissa. I am excited too. It is so great to be here with you today. Larissa is a news story strategist. She's a mentor and a coach for leaders and change makers, entrepreneurs. And she's also the past president of ICF Ukraine and now leader of International Coaching Project. Larissa is the most creative person that I know. She has a passion for writing, for making a difference in the world. And so I am delighted to be here with her today.
Thank you, Marlene, for very touching words. They are coming to my heart. At the beginning, let's share why do we have this joint podcast. And I suggest your story to come first.
So this podcast is really very important to both Larissa and I. Since we met at the beginning of the Ukraine war, we had a fast, not only partnership, but friendship. We're both really interested in making a difference for coaches in the leadership community. And so we thought that this partnership would really be a great one. So 10 days ago, we met to work on the presentation for our joint session that we're going to be giving in Orlando at ICF Converge Conference. This event is going to happen August 23 to the 27th. And we're going to present the leadership case with following facilitated conversations about coaching partnerships. So we want you to stay with us, and we're going to talk more about the conference and our session at the end of our podcast. It's become clear to us that we want to do more in this area since we started working together last year.
And it's time to share my story. I will not repeat what you already said, because really the feeling that we can do more, we can create more, I got at the beginning of our partnership. We'll tell more about this partnership, because this is the core of the leadership case we are going to present in Orlando. But I'm not sure that our listeners know about that. But actually, our first experience to be engaged in web event happened during the International Week 2018. And you were moderating the international panel discussions when the coaches from different countries, I remember France, I remember China, I remember Malaysia, and I was from Ukraine. And we are sharing what coaching is in our countries. And when it was my not first, but almost initial experience how to speak to the international colleagues, coaching colleagues. I remember how masterfully you were navigating this conversation. And I thought that, it's interesting. Would it be possible to do something together? And then in 5 years, we met for different reasons and quickly initiated the partnership project. I was always thinking that it would be interesting to have media engagement with Marlene. And here we go. We are here and now. And also, I liked when we were discussing our presentation 10 days ago, as you mentioned, And we are thinking, okay, we would like to do something more. What this more can look like for us? Webinar. Yeah, it's interesting. But what would be not just easy, but maybe less stressful because you are busy, I am busy, we are doing many different things at the same time, and to arrange another events during the summer time, it's not easy project. And then we decided, okay, podcast is much better because we can cover different topics. In 10 days, we are recording the first episode and we are going to do it twice a month. And we have a list of questions. These questions can be provocative because we already decided to use the provocative question as a title for the first episode. Before we'll move forward, I will ask those of you who are listening to us to sign up for this podcast first. And also, please give like, dislike, anyway, just react when you are listening to us, and also share your thoughts, questions, suggestions. And of course, if you can, share it with your friends, colleagues, and partners. It will help increasing interest to our partnership conversation. And because we are going to talk about partnership in action, this is the simple action you can do. For the first episode, we chose this quite provocative headline questions. You can coach, but can you lead? When I suggested this topic, Marlene, what did you think at that moment?
I thought that it was, again, as I said in the beginning, we all know how creative Larissa is. So I thought, here we go. But it really got me thinking because it's a really good question. We've got a lot of coaches who are coaching leaders, but do they know what leadership is? How do they show up for their coaches who are having leadership dilemmas? So, yeah, I thought, okay, I think this is great. I think it is a podcast for those coaches to really listen to and give some thought around how they show up for their clients.
And when I suggested that topic, I was really thinking about the same because I was able to observe different kinds of actions. I'm talking not only about the coaches whom I'm connected closely. I'm observing what is going on within the coaching industry and how coaches are excited to talk about many professional things. But sometimes I'm feeling that maybe some coaches who are listening to us now will say, okay, what she is talking about, why she is having such impressions. But again, because we went through the very challenging experiences at the beginning of the aggressive war against my country, independent Ukraine, and I started noticing lack of leadership, and especially for coaches who are talking about leadership and who are working with leaders. And then I'm thinking, how about to look at in broader context and just to put this provocative connections. You can coach, but can you lead? And I hope that the coaches who are listening to us will answer, at least for themselves, what does it mean for them to be a leader? What does it mean for them to lead own practice, company, initiatives, projects, and maybe leading conversation at the beginning? It will be interesting to see some comments or maybe questions which can come after our conversation. So we are very open. And we would like to keep this conversation as active as possible, even knowing that you are listening to the recorded podcast. I understand. My question to you, Marlene, to myself too, because podcast is partnership in action, what does it mean to you right now in this context or the professional and life context you are? I will share the same.
Well, partnership in action for me really means exactly what we're doing today. We're getting together, we're having a conversation that hopefully will resonate with many coaches who are already doing leadership coaching. Partnership in action means to me always being ready to serve as a coach, Leadership is not a one and done event. We all lead in different ways in our lives, whether it's a formal process, whether it's volunteering, whether it's just thought leadership or strategic development. Partnership in action means giving 100% of yourself, whether it's to your team, whether it's to your community. And again, we can do that in different ways. The question that, as Larissa said, that we really want to leave with you is, what does it mean to you? How are you showing up in a leadership role? And if you're not, what are ways that you can show up in a leadership role?
If you remember, the first idea was just to have podcast partnership. That's all. And then these two words came up in actions, because exactly for me, partnership is about acting, is about doing, is about moving forward, is about creating. In partnership means co-creating. I like create, no doubt. If you can take the ability to create, I can say that you are taking my soul, because this is who am I. I'm creating, from ideas to projects to very simple things to media, conversational cycle. I love it. I love it. But create when you are doing by yourself, I'm doing by myself. It's one story. It's very solo, but what I'm doing now, it's soul driven. Maybe because of my age, of life experience, very challenging changes I went through for the recent 15 years or 20, even 20 years, I can say that it's soul driven. I'm not scared to talk about this. It's not just to use fancy word that people can resonate with. No, I do mean soul driven connection, soul level connection. And maybe because of this, I'm doing new stories, because new stories which are coming, which are ego driven, and new stories which are soul driven are totally different. And speaking about to serve, when we are following with our deeply rooted goals, when we are following our real mission, not goals, but mission in this life, it's about soul. It's about serving from the soul level. And actions, not only activity can be taken as actions, discussion can be the action, provocative questioning can be the action. Not be ready to accept what I am not agree with, and to show up and speak up is also about actions. For me, partnership is the highest level of interactions with people. Almost 20 years ago, I took part in the leadership training, which was focused on building partnerships. And the title of that training was Leaders Who Build Partnerships. I will have additional conversation about that, or maybe write about that, because now I'm feeling that I'm making the circle, 20 years of circle. And now I'm thinking about the same. What does it mean to be a partner? It's necessary to be in proactive mood, but also it's necessary to go in and go out. At one moment, I realized, who am I as a partner for myself? It's internal level of partnership. And how this internal level of partnership can translate to what I'm doing outside of my internal world, how I'm showing up in external world. I realized that I had quite challenging relationships with some people whom I would like to see as partners. It's not because they were doing something wrong. It's because I was not ready to the level of partnership because of lack of understanding and lack of internal connections. And this internal level of partnership, my guess, is the condition for good partnership outside.
That's really powerful, Larissa. It's powerful, and it really does cause one to think, especially when you said there are people that you want to be in partnership with and you're not sure of those relationships. That is, I mean, I think we all find ourselves in that place at some point. We know that relationships are important to any partnership, yet we don't always know how to move forward to make sure that those relationships are genuine and that they will yield the results that we want and we need. But again, that ties right back to leadership, right? You've got these different experiences, and sometimes you just have to step in there and see where you go.
Exactly. And this is why we are going to talk about coaching, partnership, leadership. They are interconnected. I am inviting our listeners to think about the same and to answer to this question too. What do you think? What are the key connecting elements here in these three interconnected but still different domains?
That is a really, really complex question. It while all of those actions are different, they are connected. When I visualize what they mean, coaching, partnership, leadership, I see conversation. You can't have conversations without that's how we coach, right? We have conversations with our clients. Um, Partnerships, we have conversation to get to know people. Leadership, when we're displaying our leadership in a specific instance, we are having conversation. So it's conversation. It is about thought leadership. It's about strategic direction. Partnership and action means giving 100%. When you're a coach, you're giving 100%. When you're in a leadership role, you should be giving 100%, even if you're not. So there's so many different elements that connect these three words. And I think it's different for whoever you ask the question of. It depends on where they are in their life and their work, what those elements are. And for me, personally, since you're asking me right now, what are those connecting elements? Those elements are, for me, are all about really making the world a different place, a better place. There's just so much that's going on. And I see myself in a position where those three words I have to demonstrate every day.
When I was asking that question, for me, it was obvious that the three domains and modalities of how we are showing up in this life are connected. You added conversation because everything what we are doing in life is conversational. Even if we are not saying anything, we are in conversation because we are listening, because we are keeping silence, and because we are fully present, or we might be absolutely disconnected. My two words, which can be found in between, it's about clarity and courage. Coaching is the partnership in thought-provoking way. Yeah. Partnership in thought-provoking way. So the partnership is the core of coaching. And we know what does it mean to be the partner for our coaching partner. I try to not use clients because actually they are partners, coaching partners. And we know what does it mean to be the partner. So we are not dominating, we are fully present, we are creating and holding the space, and we are creating this provocative, at the same time, safe space where it's possible to come up with unusual ideas and suggestions and and talk about dilemmas and talk about different things and just play safe at this space before our coaching partners can go outside and try doing something outside. But at the same time, knowing this, having these feelings and experience on the tip of the fingers, yeah, what does it mean to be the partner when it's coming to leadership? Actually, it can create different challenges, because when you are leading, when I'm leading, it means I am taking responsibility. I am showing something, yeah, and I'm calling people, okay, let's follow, let's go. And then how leadership and partnership can be connected. It can be co-leadership. It can be co-leading. It means it's necessary to reframe and rethink and redefine the kind of leadership can be. Now I feel it's my understanding and it's my hope that we are coming to the new level of leadership, which is partnership as co-creative, co-leading way. And this is maybe sounds very interesting, maybe provocative again, but it's not easy to do it in real life, when, especially when it's necessary to make a decision. And then when we are making this decision beyond the coaching conversations, when we need to take a lead, like you did when you answered the letter I sent, email I sent to you asking to partner with us, ICF Ukraine. And it was an action of leadership. It was the leadership in action. I did it because we decided with our colleagues in Ukraine and ICF Ukraine chapter to reach your chapter. And we took a lead. And it was your choice to answer that leadership call, make a decision that I don't know if everybody was agree with you. I don't know. So the courage, clarity, conversation, and maybe another C, it can be commitment. We can put together to expand this context of conversation.
Very nice. I like that. I like the 4 C's.
If we can take coaching, conversation, clarity, courage, commitment, it will be even 5C.
Yes.
This is what is happening when you can create with somebody else. You can add and you can expand and you can make stronger. The business school I used to teach, I used to be the leader of one of MBA program, has the motto, change your life, change your company, change the world. And every time when I was working from the first to the fourth level, I was going and then I was reading this. I think we can do the same for leadership. Lead yourself, lead your company, your team, or your institution, your organization. Then lead your profession, or lead your professional world, or lead the world if you're talking about global leadership level. We can come to another question, which is very close. We are talking with you about this before, especially when we had the panel discussion within the International Coaching Week events on the ICF Ukraine platform. And you shared your leadership story. How did you come to leading in coaching way? And you had very interesting professional experience. Can you share with our listeners what is your leadership story which bring you to coaching, or coaching stories which bring you to leadership?
Sure. This is kind of a second career for me, coaching. You know, my initial career was a senior executive in the federal government, where I managed teams of hundreds of people. So, you know, I had wonderful leadership training before I got there. Again, I managed like 400 people, but I had leaders that were direct reports to me. And so I got the work done through those 6 or 7 leaders. You know, you have to show up a certain way when you've got that many people that you're managing. And you've got to realize that as a leader, these 7 people are all different. And I don't know how many folks that are listening to us have more than one child. But if you've got more than one child, you can't treat them all the same, right? So your leadership skills get tested very quickly when you have more than one person that reports directly to you. That's kind of how I began that's really how I learned to be a strong leader. And not right now, about 95% of my clientele, my coaching clients they're in leadership roles. Some are aspiring to be leaders. And I think that's, when you have those chemistry calls, there's something that they feel that they can learn from me. But I tell all of my clients exactly what you said, that they're all creative, resourceful, and whole. As a coach, I don't have to tell them anything. They have what they need to be successful. And my job as a coach is to help them get to where they want to be. Once I left that role, my first job as a consultant in my own consulting company was to land a big coaching contract. And it was the best. I went to CTI, so I was a trained coach after a period of time. And today I wake up every day and I do what I love. And it really is about helping leaders see their potential and understanding what their potential is. And not only wherever they are, but in their communities. I like what you said earlier about, leaders being more global now. Everything is more global. So we want our leaders to have that global experience and to feel comfortable. That's why, again, back to the earlier question about the connecting elements, partnerships. You get to be comfortable because you're interacting with people from all over the world. Like I'm interacting with you, like that first day I met you, Larissa. I had no idea that, what your personality would be like. But I very quickly found that you, again, were a strong leader together, that we could make a difference in your community and in my community. That's kind of my leadership story. I've been coaching leaders for a very, very long time, even with some of the challenges that we see that are happening in the world right now. It's my hope that these leaders will step up and see their potential, that they have the skills and abilities to make a difference in their little piece of the world, whatever they choose that to be.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. When you ask our listeners if you have more than one child, you know that you cannot interact on the same way. I came from the big family, very big family. I am the youngest child. I am the sixth one. It means for me, it was always necessary to follow parents, older sisters, and older brother. I had to follow. And this is what I was learning from my early childhood. But at the same time, I was always trying to do something different. So I was trying to find the way how to lead. And at the secondary school and in my youthhood, I was very active as a leader of school community. But something interesting happened when I stepped from my leadership way and I started developing how to follow at the different level, at the professional level. As a young journalist, I was learning how to be not just professional journalist, how to write better, how to interact better, how to lead your small team when I had only one subordinate, another journalist. It was a leadership experience at the same time and managerial experience. And I was questioning when these managerial skills and leadership skills are matching. Nobody taught me how to manage. I was self-learning how to manage. And I ended up in my early 30s to lead the team of 15 plus, very ambitious, creative, consultants. And then it was leadership experience again under umbrella of managing experience. So how to manage and lead at the same time. And maybe because I like creating, for me, the creativity is a way to lead. Because creating something new from idea to the product, it's necessary to take a lead. It's necessary to see the whole picture before you can see the real picture. Leadership is about vision in the future and to make that future reality. And this is why actions are so important. And you mentioned about a global level. Sometimes I'm thinking that the global level can be found at the place I'm sitting now. The small working corner, one screen can be as a globe, can be the global place to live. Now we are living in so interconnected world, and the global level can show up from very ad hoc request. And again, coming back to our experience, the request you were dealing with, because that request came from ICF Ukraine, brought to the new experience, new partnership project, to the new level of interactions, and created the global leadership case we are going to present in Orlando. If we can come back to this experience and to share with our listeners what we are going to tell, what are the core messages we are bringing to that place. We are going to talk to the coaches, definitely, but we are going to talk to them as leaders in what they are doing.
That's a good segue into, what we hopefully the takeaway from that conference will be how the coaches can lead in today's complex times. There are lots of things that are happening right in our neighborhoods across the world. So there are lots of opportunities. And how can they, as individual leadership coaches, what can they do? Again, there's a lot of conflict. There's anger, there's divisiveness that's showing up in our world all over. And we have coaches all over the world. So wouldn't it be wonderful to see our coaches initiate the leadership that's necessary right now in some of the challenges that we're hearing about on the news every day? Wouldn't it be great to see conversations happening in their neighborhood, in their communities, where they would be leading a team, some team coaching or some group coaching? We don't hear that. And the truth is that we know it's happening, and we want to create a space for those conversations that need to be had. And so if we can just, hear some sidebar conversations after the conference about what our coaches are doing in their own communities, I think that would really be powerful.
And then for our listeners, I like to say that in the description to this episode will be the link where it's possible to read the case published by the International Coaching Federation about the experience. Two chapters had ICF Ukraine and ICF Metro DC chapter, and also the link to the ICF Converge, so you can see and explore what this conference will be about. Answering the same questions, what we are going to share, I think our message is about redefining the role of leaders as a coaches as leaders. Mm-hmm. Because we are very often saying that leaders are learning the skills, the approaches, the modalities, which are coaching skills, approaches, and modalities, to be a better leader, to be effective leader, to be influential leader, to be impactful leader. But our message is to look differently how coaches can be the leaders. In redefining the coaching as a profession, as a modalities, as a way to interact and to create partnership, and to look at the leadership way as an initiative, as an investment, as an interactions which can bring the impact or create impact. So simply saying what our session will be about how to take a lead as a coaches and initiate, invest, interact, and create impact. May I ask another question? I hope we still have time.
Sure.
What do you think? What can leadership coaches learn from the leaders they coach, and vice versa? Leaders who are getting coaches from leadership coaches can learn from them.
I like that question. So we all know that one of the competencies, the ICF competencies that I think is most important is being really present with your client, right? You can't coach if you're not present with your client. So by coaching and being really present with the leaders that we coach, we can learn about what their real fears are. The ones that they don't necessarily articulate with words, but we see it in their body language. We see it in their eyes. We see it in the tears that they share in our sessions. By truly listening, but really hearing their stories and deciding what those common themes are is where I, as a coach, can make a difference. I encourage each of my clients who are in leadership roles to use those same coaching methodologies that I use with them, with their teams. And I do that by demonstrating that, by reminding them actually that I don't give them the answers. That they have everything that they need to be successful. And sometimes it's a powerful question that they can just impart on their team member for that aha moment that's necessary. So, what can leadership coaches learn from their leaders that they coach and vice versa? You know, being fully present, really listening for what's not said. I think it will be more impactful than you can even imagine.
It's very powerful. And I feel that this your coaching and leadership in your life and professional experience are condensed in this very clear, straightforward, and very inspiring sentences. And you said listening, be present and listen. Yeah, I'm waiting with two hands in my heart and my mind for that, because this is a real gift that leaders can bring to the world. Be present to those whom they are leading. And at the moment when they are present with create and hold space like coaches are doing for those whom they are leading, just to learn how to follow what can happen in that space. And for me, what I'm learning from leaders whom I'm coaching, and just to be this type of energy, which is not possible to explain, but possible to feel, because leadership is about energy, exchanging energy, calm energy, high energy, provocative energy, disruptive energy, different types of energy, but to be that energy and to understand what kind of energy you're bringing in your leadership and what kind of energy can create connections and clarity and necessary to have to be able to co-create. Coming back to what I said a little bit earlier, leadership is about co-creation. I am learning from leaders how to co-create with them when we are together within this coaching framework. And also, I think if leaders can learn how to co-create without losing their leadership power and creating conditions for others to show up and bring their power up and to see what is possible. This is what I'm here to share. And also maybe to feel the moment of loneliness, because many leaders are saying that it's very lonely to be on the top. I'm asking, really lonely? Okay, whom you can bring to that place? Visually, really, and how to share that leadership burden and leadership power. And it's also the choice to be alone. But leaders are not alone because they have followers, they have leaders, they are growing, they are helping to raise. My feeling is the major role of leader is not to lead, but to raise another leaders, to create space where another leaders can show up.
I like that conversation around leaders being lonely at the top, because I hear that a lot. And so as you say that, Larissa, it causes me to want to think that there's an opportunity, right, for us to work with the folks that we coach on that. Yeah, that may be a whole podcast by itself.
Yeah, definitely. I already can see several interrelated topics. So we can talk about creativity and leadership, and we can talk about courage in different ways, because courage is not only to be brave, it's always to have fear, but do anything, not to overcome those types of fears, but to friend with those fears and to become stronger by understanding something, experiencing something, and discovering something. And again, for me, it's always about creating new experiences. What do you think? What is the best way to finish this conversation where we are now and to make the bridge to another topic?
Maybe if just the two of us just give a couple of our leadership, maybe 2 or 3 leadership lessons that we think are important as coaches.
What are your 2, 3 leadership lessons you're going to share?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a whole lot, but it's off of the top of my head. Probably taking care of your team, taking care of people. People want to feel like they work for leaders that care about them as a whole person. So that's one. Of course, talking less and listening more. You've got these folks that are on your team and they're working with you and they want to feel like that they're being heard and that you as a leader are really listening to what they are saying and what they're having to contribute. And probably the third for me is we need to remember the importance of relationships with peers, with our colleagues, with our staff. Even introverts need to get to know each other, people that they interact with. And to kind of take this back to the last comment you mentioned about being lonely at the top. It's about relationships. If you're building relationships as a leader, it makes it a lot less lonely at the top.
Thank you. I will do the same, but in my creative way. I love doing it, and I'm asking people who are listening to us just look at the leader as a word written vertically, letter by letter, and then unpack the meaning of this. And for me, each letter is standing for very important leadership lesson. And the first lesson is L means love. How, as a leader, I'm questioning myself. How, as a leader, do you love what you do, how you lead, whom you lead, and what is love and leading? And it's coming to the another lesson. Be very careful with the energy, because energy can help to raise and can help to go down. And leadership power is so strong it's possible to create anything, but the question, what as a leader I'm creating, what kind of energy I'm creating and bringing to this space where I am leading, and which is bringing me to the third letter A, awareness, to be aware about the power and love and impact and importance of leadership, and also what is the shadow of everything I just said. Because life is integral. We are living from everything we love and everything we don't love, especially now for us. Talk about hate, how it's possible to love and to hate at the same time. We hate enemies, we love people whom we serve, but how to deal with this? It's bringing to another discussion about ethical dilemmas, because as human beings, we have values and we are protecting the values we are standing for, and what to do with those who are not sharing those values in an aggressive way, another topic. And also it's about define every moment of leadership is a moment of defining who am I as a leader in the moment I'm leading. Who am I now? And again, what I love, what I do, why I do it, what kind of energy I'm bringing, and how much I'm aware about that. And also for me, another my leadership lesson is leadership is about exploration. Always about exploration. What can help yesterday may not help tomorrow. What can I explore? How I can expand the leadership styles and leadership. I don't like to say repertoire, so there is no repertoire in leading, but modalities and philosophy of leadership can change because we are living in the changing world. And not last but very important lesson is relationship is coming first, and then leadership is showing up, not leadership and then relationship. So to expand, explore, define the relationship, the quality of relationships, and then to define the leadership way. So as you said, it's always about relationships. So leading, it's about building relationships, which can last, which can be for a short time, but I hope we are sharing the vision that what we are creating is not for one day, 1 month, 1 year. We want to create something that can last, not forever, but much longer. I'm very grateful to have this conversation with you and start exploring the partnership in action. And I'd like to tell our listener that the next podcast, we already had the topic for that podcast. And again, provocative questions, maybe with focus on leaders more than coaches. We are going to talk about you can lead, but can you partner? And how leaders can define partnership for them and the quality of partnership and the strategies of partnership. This is what we are going to talk.
I'm excited about the next podcast. We've talked a lot today about leadership and partnership and coaching, and I'm excited to explore it a little bit further and a little more in depth.
Thank you, Marlene. And I will remind our listeners that it was my big privilege and honor to talk to my colleague, partner, leadership partner, and co-host from today, from this experience, Marlene Thomas. We'll see our contacts and how to reach us in the description to this podcast. And if you can share what you think, what you have taken from this conversation, how was it for you, and what are the topics you would like to bring to the space, we will be happy to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larissa. This was fun.
Thank you. See you very soon. Be well until the next conversation.